Welcome to another battle report by Dark Wizard Gaming. Karen is going to be playing me tonight. We have a little bit of a rematch. A while back, Billy had run some Vermin Swarm against my Ogres, and everybody said that there was no way that the Vermin Swarm can beat the Ogres, so we're going to give it a shot. I'm going to have Karen playing the Ogres, and then I'll be on the Vermin Swarm. My list is a little different than Billy's, but I do think that this has a pretty good shot against the Ogres. I know you're worried about some of my multi-wound stuff.
I am. The Doom Wheel, your Cannon, and your Assassin. They kind of make me nervous, but also there's just so many rats and mice everywhere, so I think I might need a little help from an exterminator to help get rid of a few of them.
Well, and this is a chance for you to get back a little bit because the Ogres were pretty mean to your dwarfs last week, so
yes,
being able...
a little disappointed with my little men.
So I know you're looking forward to getting some of those impact hits and stomps on the other side this time.
Yippers!
So we're playing 5,000 points. This is going to be Frontline Clash, and we have Secure Target.
Yep.
We put the targets pretty much in the middle. Karen deployed pretty much straight across the middle, whereas I ended up more on one side, so I will have to work my way over to make sure and get this secondary objective here. But it ought to be a really good game. Nothing else. It's going to be very bloody. There's going to be a lot of dead bodies before we're done. So good luck. Looking forward to it.
Let's start with my Shaman. He is my General Wizard Master, and he's carrying Iron Fist. He has a Dispel Scroll, +1 Leadership, and he has 4 spells with the Path of Shamanism. Next up is my Khan. He is my Battle Standard Bearer, and he has Iron Fist and Bluffer's Helm. Starting on my left, I have 3 Yetis with a champion. Next up is my Tusker Cavalry. We have full command, and they have the Dragon Skin banner along with Iron Fist. And right behind them are my Scraplings with bows, just 15 of them. Now I know my Scraplings are behind my big Tusker Cav, but I put them behind there so I can stay within my leadership, and yet I can still see Michael's medium and large targets. My favorite model's up next, which is Frosty, and the 2 ogres on top have crossbows. I have 13 tribesmen. They have full command and the banner of speed, along with Iron Fist. And both of my characters are within that unit as well. On each side of my tribesmen, we have a saber-toothed tiger. Next down the line is the Rock Ock, and he has a rider lance. Bombardiers. I like these little fellas a lot too. They have full command and a flaming banner. I placed them half in the field though so they don't get shot down and have a little extra protection. I was hoping Mike would have his abomination closer to my bombardiers, but maybe I can get over there and still get him anyway. And then the last is my little Scraplings, just another unit of 15 down there. I decided to go ahead and deploy everything out. Mike has so many more drops than I did, and it just makes it easier for me that way. And I just put my big beefy men in the middle and then just try to keep everybody within my leadership bubble and balance it out that way. My Yetis, I put them behind the building, and then once I move them through the building, they're going to get hard cover. So that's the reason I put them back here. But we'll see how it all works out.
So leading out the Vermin Swarm today, I'm going to have my Plague Prophet. He is on a Plague Pendulum. He has the Putrid Plate, Lucky Charm, and Divine Icon. Then I'm going to have my Dictator Chief, who is going to be having the Crown of Scorn and the Aether Icon. He's also my BSB. Really doesn't have any other upgrades. I'm just trying to keep him around to help with my magic a little bit, and I have my BSB where I can move around from unit to unit to make sure that I keep my rerolls where I need them. Alright, and then lastly for my heroes, I'm going to have my Assassin. He has a Bronze Breastplate and Potion of Strength. Alright, starting on my left, so I'm going to have 2 Rat Swarm bases, and I put them over there really because there just wasn't anywhere else to put them by the time I got deployed out. And Karen did deploy out first, so it gave me the chance to go where I wanted to. I really wanted to stay away from her bombardiers with as much of my stuff as possible, and the way this all stacked up, I thought I would really put everything on the right side of the board here on my side so I could swing in towards her. And so on the left, I didn't want to have anything with my Doom Wheel or my Abomination. My Abomination had been in the middle, which is a little closer to those Bombardiers than I really wanted with their flaming, but it seemed like the best place, and I should be able to get them into combat pretty soon. But moving over from my Rat Swarms, I'm going to have 10 Giant Rats, and right behind them, I've got my weapon team with the Rotary Gun, and I also have 9 Plague Disciples behind them as well. And as I keep moving over, I'm going to have 1 unit of 31 Rat-at-Arms, and they do have a meat grinder in there, which is the little ogre. Then I've got 10 more giant rats, and I've got them going deep instead of wide, because I want them to be able to get up and just really kind of get in Karen's way. I'm going to have my abomination on the other side of the giant rats, and then behind both of them, I'm going to have my unit of slaves, which there's 27 slaves, and that's where I went ahead and put my BSB for now. He may move around, but that seemed like a good spot to give me a nice reroll, because I know she's going to get first turn, and I might need a reroll over here if her bombardiers hit well. All right, on the other side of the abomination, I do have 5 Giselles. They're covering that wall there, so I thought that would help them a little bit if anything comes over and shoots them, but where her shooting is, I actually don't have to worry about them getting shot right away. And then I have my naphtha thrower right beside them. And also behind the wall is going to be my unit of grenadiers. I know these don't look like grenadiers, but that's what they're playing today, because I got to get some grenadier models painted. I went ahead and put them in front of my big unit, because I really thought with both the Frost Mammoth and those big Tusker Cav coming at me, these guys could help weed some of that down before I really have to deal with everything hitting me at full strength. So behind the grenadiers is going to be my big block of Plague Brotherhood. They just have the champion musician full command, nothing really special on there other than what they automatically come with. And then on the very right hand side, I've got my Doom Wheel, another unit of the Rat-at-Arms, again with a meat grinder in there, which is going to be the Rat Ogre. And behind everything in the very far corner is going to be my lightning cannon. So my biggest concern is having Karen hit me at full strength with those Tusker Cav, and also with Frosty close to them, so she would still be going first with a lot of her stuff. So I stacked the right side pretty hard with shooting. I thought I could go ahead and get the Tusker Cav whittled down and hopefully get some wounds on that Frost Mammoth before we end up into combat. And then I thought I could go ahead and just wheel over towards her big unit. To be honest, I'd like to keep her big unit tied up as much as possible and not really engage it with too much. And then I'm hoping that I can get the Rock Ock to frenzy off the other direction. If she gets it far enough from her general, I'd really like to have him not over here anywhere near any of my really nice units. The one thing that I'm the most concerned about is this abomination being as close as I am to her cannoneers with the flaming, so that'll be something that I either want to get him right into combat or get those cannoneers tied up with something else. So we'll see how this goes.
So I didn't have any charges, obviously, it's the first round. I just kind of moved everybody up though. My big thing was I wanted to try to stay far enough away so it wasn't easy charges for Michael, but I moved my tribesmen up because they're not scared of anything. My little Rock Ock over there, he got a little closer, but the units on that side is not as scary as in everything on the other side over here towards the Yeti side. It is disappointing though, my bombardiers are gonna kind of have some blockage from my Rock Ock, but that's okay. For my magic phase, I got Break the Spirit off against Mike's Rat-at-Arms with Meat Grinder. I did miscast, but thankfully nothing happened. I didn't lose anybody. So my shooting phase was a wee bit disappointing, but my little scraplings did just as good as my bombardiers. They each did 2 wounds against his little swarm over there, his little rat swarms.
All right, so starting on my right, first I didn't have any charges. Karen got just far enough away with everything that I didn't feel comfortable with the charges, and the one that I might have charged, she put Break the Spirit on. I really didn't want to lose a whole bunch of rats, charging in with DTs because of the spell. So on the right hand side, I went ahead and moved my 1 Rat-at-Arms with the weapon team in there as far up and angled over as I could, so I could come in either on the Cav or the Yetis if I need to. On the next one over, I got really lucky. My Doom Wheel needed a 13 exactly to roll into the Yetis, and he got a 13, so I will get my charge and I'll get to shoot them ahead of time. I went ahead and brought the Grenadiers up so they can shoot the Cav. I know they're going to get charged by the Cav, but I'm hoping between the first round of shooting with everything that I put into them and then the stand and shoot that I at least get them mostly whittled down. Moved up the big block of plagues behind them just so I'm behind the wall there. I took the Abomination and I just turned him around and made him run into his own unit, so he didn't want to move any farther, because I really did not want him to get any closer to that either the Mournfang or that big tribesman block right away. I wanted him to stay a little bit farther away there. I went ahead and brought the giant rats up to block the Frost Mammoth from charging. Looks like I'm probably going to get flanked from her dog if he's still around next turn, but I'm hoping to shoot him down with the Rattling Gun. And I backed up the other unit of Rat-at-Arms a little bit because I didn't want there to be any chance of her overrunning with the big block of Ogres into them. The Plague Disciples, I moved them in the middle, so the big block of Ogres is blocked by one unit of Giant Rats, and then the Rock Ock is blocked by the Swarms, and I tried to place them in a way that neither one can overrun into them, but it gives them a nice flank if she does go ahead and overrun with her Ogres. Alright, so shooting was good and bad. So first the Dreadmill took out 2 Yetis, which was really good because I should be able to, with impact hits, go ahead and clean up that unit. However, the Tusker Cav really survived my shooting well. My Lightning Cannon missed. My Naphtha Thrower did nothing. My Giselles did 1 wound, and I was able to take off 1 whole Cav model with my Grenadiers, and then I still went ahead and took my Rattling Gun and shot them and did 1 more wound. So unfortunately she still has 3 Cav models, and even with the stand and shoot I'll drop 1 more, but that's going to be 2 coming in. I was really hoping to do a little bit better on that, so maybe that wasn't the smartest placement putting the Grenadiers up there, but that's Skaven shooting. Sometimes it does well, sometimes it doesn't. So as expected, the impact hits went ahead and took care of the last Yeti from the Dreadmill, so we're moving on to Karen's turn.
So we're at the top of round 2. My Tusker Cav did a charge into his Grenadiers. He did get 2 wounds off, so I lost 1 little man, dadgummit. And then my Frosty, he went into these little silly rats because they were in my way. Same thing with my big unit of tough fellas. Those little rats were in my way, so I have to just mow over them so I can get into what I want to do next. For my movement, I went ahead and put my tigers so they would kind of get in the way for him. That's my goal anyway, my plan. I went ahead and brought up my Bombardiers, that way they're a little bit closer. And then my Rock Ock, I actually just went around because I didn't want to charge into his swarms, and I kind of wanted to be able to get maybe possibly into side flanks or rear flanks and things like that with him. For my magic phases, actually wasn't too shabby. I got Frenzy off for my Tusker Cav, and I managed to get rid of Mike's dice, and he got rid of his scroll, made him use it up. So he used his scroll on my monster because I got the Titanic Summon off. For my shooting phase, I got rid of his 2 little rat swarms over there between my Scraplings and my Bombardiers, so they finished those out. During close combat, my Tusker Cav went ahead and got rid of his Grenadiers, and then they overran into that next little mouse sitting there all by his little gnomes himself. He went ahead and just stomped on those little mice and little rats, so it was easy peasy lemon squeezy for him. And I didn't want him to overrun. I didn't want Michael to get the charge off, especially with his Abomination, so I thought I would just try to stay back as far as possible. My next big unit of my big fellas, they just smashed those little mice like if they were stepping on grapes, and I didn't have them overrun either. Again, I wanted it to make as far as possible of a charge for Mike.
Alright, so Vermin Swarm turn 2. I had a pretty good round of charges. Everything made it on the declared charges. I brought in my Rat-at-Arms to the side of the Tusker Cav with the big unit of the Plague guys into the front. As we come over, my other Rat-at-Arms successfully charged the dog, which was blocking me up, and then my Plague Disciples went ahead and charged the other dog, Saber Cats over there. On my random movement charges, I tried to get into the Frost Mammoth with my Dreadmill, but unfortunately he just rolled a couple inches too short, so he didn't quite make the charge. However, I did get close enough. I think he is my closest model to shoot, so I'm hoping to get some good shots on him. And then the Abomination, it was kind of weird. Everything was just a little bit farther out than he wanted to charge, and so he decided to go ahead and turn to charge the Saber Cat. And because I looked at that with my overrun, I'd be able to, on a 7, hit her Rock Ock, and I think it's a pretty good matchup if I can get the charge off without the Rock Ock hitting me with all of the impact hits. So that may be a little crazy, but we'll give it a shot. I'm going to try to maybe take a couple wounds off of it with my weapon team over there before he comes in. So there wasn't a lot of additional moves after that because there's not much left on my board. The BSB went ahead and moved to the other side, and they scoot up just a little bit. I wanted to make sure that if anything happened wrong with this combat over here with the Plague Furnace, that I'd at least got a reroll on that. And then also my weapon team moved over so the Rock Ock couldn't see him, and that opened up the way for the Abomination to do a charge in there. Alright, so the Vermin Swarm's shooting did more damage to me than it did to Karen, so that was true rat fashion. I had a really low roll on my Dreadmill, and I think I did 1 wound to him on the Dreadmill. The cannon also rolled horrible and ended up doing 1 wound to him there. And the Giselles were... Actually, no, the cannon didn't roll high enough to even wound, but the Giselles did 1 wound to the Frost Mammoth as well. So he has 2 wounds on him. And then over for the Rock Ock, I tried to shoot him with my rotary gun and misfired, rolled a 1 on the volatile, so I blew myself up. So combat went just the way I was hoping for on every different one. On the right-hand side, I was able to go ahead and kill all the Mournfang. I had 2 wounds left after I had done all my impact hits. I went ahead and did the Potion of Strength on my Assassin because I didn't want a chance of the Mournfang living and then having to run them down. I did overrun with the Rat-at-Arms. They didn't go very far, and then there was no way for the Plague Furnace unit to overrun since they were going to hit the Rat-at-Arms. Over on the side with the kitties, the Abomination did exactly what he was supposed to do. He went ahead and killed the kitty and overran into the Rock Ock. He rolled like a 15. He definitely wanted in there. And then the Plague Disciples, they took 2 wounds from the cat, so that was a little disappointing, but they did roll a 7, which is exactly what they needed to get into the big meat bus. I know they're not going to live, however, they should put out a decent amount of damage on that before they all die, so I was really happy on that overrun as well.
My Frost Mammoth first declared charge into the Giselles, and they failed their terror check, so they ran like big ol' sissies. And so I redirected my charge over into his other big unit of mice. So I made it in there. I needed a 10 and I got it. So far as movement goes, only thing I did was move up my 1 little scrapling so they're a little bit closer to the objective. And then I repositioned my bombardiers so they can kind of take a little peek-see over here, maybe at the doom wheel, and yet have, hopefully, if I planned it correctly, angle at everything, so if his Abomination ends up killing my rock, I can maybe be in front instead of a side flank for him. I had a nice magic phase. I got the Break the Spirit off on his Rat-at-Arms, and then I also got to bring in a monster, so he's gonna go over there towards the cannon. Yippee! During my shooting phase, I did 2 wounds on the Dreadmill. And for the close combat, I got really lucky and Michael got very unlucky. Against his Abomination, I ended up doing 4 wounds and he just did 1 against my Rock Ock. And in my Frost Mammoth, I did about 11 wounds and Michael did a couple wounds against mine. And then my Meat Bus, I ended up taking out his little unit of mice there. So then I reformed so I won't get side flanked with his other units over here.
Alright, so charges for the Vermin Swarm. So I tried to bring my other unit of Rat-at-Arms over into the Frost Mammoth. They needed a 7 on the dice to get there. They rolled a 1 and a 2, so the luck continues definitely against the rats. We also failed to rally the Giselles, so they ran off the board. I was not able to get my big Plague Furnace units where I wanted to, so I went ahead and reformed him a little bit, so hopefully he can try to get into combat and get past those Rat-at-Arms next turn if at all possible. I did go ahead and turn the Dreadmill around and ran into the Scraplings. So the shooting went a little bit better. My cannon did hit the beast and he rolled enough to kill him outright, so thankfully he is gone. And then over on the Dreadmill side, I was able to kill 2 of the Scrapling. So for the combat, the Dreadmill was able to go ahead and do enough damage to win combat on the scraplings. They failed their leadership. He was not able to hold or restrain, so he went ahead and overran. He did catch the scraplings. Over with the Frost Mammoth, continued to go horribly wrong. I did get 10 on my grinding attacks, however no 6s, so there was no wounds to him. All the other rats missed, and she did another 5 wounds on them. They did hold, but it's going to go downhill quickly soon. Luckily on the Rock and Abomination, it went a little bit better for me. She didn't do any wounds this turn, and I did 3 to the Rock, so we're getting closer there. I don't know how that's going to work out. Somebody's going to end up dying probably next round.
My tribesmen made their charge into the ratted arms, and then I had just I just turned my bombardiers so they can shoot at the dreadmill. During my magic phase, I got the Fury, so I got Frenzy off over there with my Frost Mammoth, and then I also got my Totemic Summon off, so I created another little monster over there by his cannon. During my shooting phase, I was able to actually get rid of the Dreadmill from my Bombardiers. So my combat didn't go as well as I had hoped, but Michael finally got rid of both of my Rockoth and my Frost Mammoth, so they are both toodles. My tribesman managed to get rid of his ratted arms. I decided not to chase after him to catch them because I didn't want to get side flanked by his big unit over here, so I just stayed put. So we'll keep my fingers crossed, but it's not looking so good now.
Alright, so Karen had done a little bit of a reform with her big ogre tribesmen before my turn, so made it to where I could only charge her in the front and the side, not in the rear. So I did went ahead and just bring in my Plague Furnace unit into the front. I brought my ratted arms that I had left into the side. I did try to bring my Abomination for a long charge. He needed a 14 to get in there, but he just missed it by a little bit. He rolled an 11. And then my ratted arms that fled from the Ogre tribe bus, they did not rally. They rolled a 10 and then rolled right off the board. So they wanted to just flee and be gone. I'm trying to move my slaves up a little bit so they can come over and contest with these scraplings over here. Alright, so if the rats had a good turn on combat, they went ahead and on my double charge, I was able to do more wounds than the ogres did back, and with my flank and everything else, Karen ended up breaking. I did run her down with the big unit, so at this point we're gonna call it a game because looks like to me the Bombardiers are going to get charged from both my big Plague Furnace unit as well as in the side from the ratted arms, and then the only thing that's going to be left is going to be the scraplings over there.
All right, well, it definitely turned out to be a back and forth game.
It was.
You know, go ahead.
I was excited. I thought I was going to win.
I thought you were going to win too. When I couldn't do anything against any of your monsters for what, 4 combats in a row. I mean, I thought I was going to lose everything over here.
I thought I was going to beat you finally. Very often, so.
And I was excited to show that the rats could do something against ogres, and I thought it was actually going to go the other way. But yeah, once I got rid of both of the monsters, then you know, it definitely swung the other way.
It did.
I felt like you did have to come over here with your big block. It was just unfortunate that you know, everything came in around you afterwards. Because if you would have, you couldn't have got away far enough, because I think my guys would have just started heading that way.
Yeah, I wouldn't have got far enough, and you would definitely got a side flank as well too if I would have chased you.
Yeah. So even though we called it on turn 4, this is a much closer game than that, because I don't have a lot of points left, and your beast was still going to take out the cannon over there. My Abomination has 5 wounds on it, so you know, there's really not that many points left on the board for me. But the only thing that was left for you was the scraplings, which eventually would have got taken out, and then your Bombardiers would have lost that on the next turn for the charge. charges. But it was unlucky you weren't able to get away from me because you rolled an 11. So that big unit, if you could have just got away from there, we could have still tried the next round or two.
Yeah, I thought I was going to do it, and I rolled 11. I was excited, and then when you rolled your 11, I'm like, oh, rats.
But it was definitely a fun game.
It was a good game. It was fun. I enjoyed it.
It shows the up and down of Skaven. It's amazing how they can look like there's a lot of things, but everything can seem to go wrong for them pretty quickly.
It does. Indeed.
I still think Skaven's a really powerful army right now because even though stuff goes wrong, I think they're so cheap in points that you get so much of it that it's just hard to get through everything on the Skaven.
You just feel like they're still there.
I know it.
A lot of them.
It's kind of like my vampires. It's frustrating because they don't come back, but there's just
thank God these don't come back.
there's just so many of them. It's just rough to get through. Yep. So, well, sorry you didn't get your revenge with the ogres on that.
Next time.
Well, thanks for watching us. We'll see you on the next battle report.
Thanks, guys. Toodles.
Thanks for watching our Dark Wizard Gaming video. If you enjoyed this video, please use the subscribe and the like features here on YouTube. And then leave us any comments for anything that maybe you want to see different on the videos, any upcoming content, or anything else you'd like to see. So thanks a lot, and see you on the next video.